Hey everybody on YouTube, I feel energized, invigorated, and I'm excited to grow roses. You might think, Eric, you have a YouTube channel, you've been talking about roses for years and years, how could you have any more energy? I just got back from an awesome meeting for the Eastern North Carolina Rose Society. We visited a garden in Eastern North Carolina of Nick Fritz. I'm going to do a video on hybridization. Him and his father have been doing this over 30 years, and that's where you take the pollen of one rose, you put it on another one, you cover it up so the bees don't mess it up, you harvest the hips, the seeds. Many months later, you put it in a cold refrigerator, and then you plant those seedlings over the winter. By the following year, hopefully you have some seedlings that come up, and then you kind of see what's good and what's not good. And through years and years and years of effort, you try to hybridize what you want. In their case, they're trying to hybridize disease-resistant roses, but also ones that have fragrance and form, kind of utopia of everything we want. You know, some roses are fragrant, some are disease-resistant, some have form. They're trying to do all three. So look for that video here soon. What a day in the garden. That was fantastic. What we're going to talk about today briefly is what in the world is behind me. I've got all these little white things on the blooms. Why am I doing that? I'm going to give you a quick preview of the garden as of the first couple days of October. We're going to talk about what I'm trying to aim for here in the next week. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about the garden itself and what I mentioned visiting Nick's house and garden today with the Rose Society. If you're not in a Rose Society, you need to join one. At the very least, the American Rose Society. I will put links below in the comments. And then your local society, if you have one nearby, a wealth of information. Social gathering, we had great food. Just getting connected with other Rosarians, I can't recommend it enough. Yes, you get tips. Yes, you hear and see how people do different things different ways. But just getting out in the community, connecting with other people that like growing roses, really recommend you join the American Rose Society and a local society when you get a chance. So, enough of me in front of the camera. Let me show you what's going on in the garden. Why do I have these white things on the roses? What am I trying to do? And you got to see some of these blooms. Ring of Fire, Gemini, some of them Randy Scott, looking really good. And there's a reason for that. A little bit because of what I'm doing. Fertilization, pruning, spraying, all that stuff. But it's all about Mother Nature. Have you noticed in your garden, spring and fall, pretty much no matter what you do, you have beautiful blooms? It's all about the weather. If you have temperatures in the 70s to near 80 during the day, 50s and 60s at night, that's ideal. That's what it's been like here in Eastern North Carolina. That is why local rose shows are in the spring and fall. Let's face it, that's when our best blooms are. So let me go show you what's going on in my garden today. So it's October 4th. The garden is looking pretty good. Keep in mind, I pruned at the beginning of August to mainly lower the height of the bushes and get a lot of debris down toward the curb itself, because we had a brush pickup scheduled here coming up. Then I pruned again for some of the rose bushes in late August, and that was for a rose show. More about that in a second. But I gotta show you some of these blooms. This is one of the better exhibition roses on the market. This is Randy Scott. You can see why. No covering, no filter, no nothing, and it looks outstanding. This is a white rose with a slight hint of yellow. You can see that pinpoint center. That is why it's a beautiful rose. Now you might look over here on Randy Scott and say, Eric, why in the world do you have these little covers on these? These are organza bags or party favor bags. They have a little tie. I haven't done this religiously, but through the Rose Society, through other friends, they mentioned that this is a potential way to keep out thrips. So I have a terrible problem with thrips. Sometimes during the year it's so bad I won't even give these roses to neighbors. They're that bad. But when I'm competing for the Queen of the Rose Show, any blemish could potentially, count against me when we're comparing to other roses. So light color blooms, your whites, your yellows, light pinks, thrips love them. So the thought is, by putting this bag on, especially early, when it's kind of like a piece-shaped bud, I didn't do it that early on some of them, but when they're about that size, you throw one of these bags on there, and then that will keep the thrips out. I can't find the big bags, so I just got small ones. Eventually I'm gonna have to take this off because that bloom will be bigger than that bag. They certainly make bigger ones than this, but I just haven't gotten around to getting the big ones. I also am staking the roses. I'm not staking every cane. I don't have the time. I've got 3 kids and a full-time job, but we had some hurricanes off our coast this week, so I have a bamboo stake, and I'm just keeping this cane from snapping off, because I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but that's about 2.5 feet. So that's a queenly stem. Those are queenly rose leaves. Everything about this is, that's gonna be in the show. Now, I just have to see, how does that bloom open? Does it open into a nice flower, or does it not have a center? So that's what we're waiting on. So that's why I've got those bags in the garden. And primarily I'm talking about ones that are light colored roses. And some of them might not be ready for the show. I'm aiming for Friday, October 10th, the South Carolina State Fair. So there's one right there. That is Crescendo. So I'm hoping that these roses open in time. And you can see a lot more of the roses have opened up a little earlier with those ones that were pruned in August. We're gonna show you a couple more things. Right now we're gonna show you Gemini. This is a brilliant rose. When I've done my videos about Gemini, I just talk about how each one has form. And yeah, you know, you can see that one needs to be deadheaded, but boom, 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 rose after rose after rose after rose. Gemini, that is one, if you don't have it in your garden, I've done videos on this rose bush, and you can see why. Just rose bloom after rose bloom that have that spiral shape to it. So really, really nice bloom. So the majority of the garden, again, was pruned in early August. That was just out of necessity to get debris down to the curb. I pruned in late August for the show. I'm gonna have probably about 10% of the rose garden in bloom for the show. So not perfect, but it is what it is. You can see these would be lovely entries. This is Louise Estes. I don't know if that pink shows on the camera, but this is why I grow Louise Estes. Look at that pink and the spiral center. I mean, it's just a great growing rose. Louise Estes, if you don't have that one, I'm going to, I've got a lot of ideas on videos. The other one I'm going to do here pretty shortly is on WisconsinRoses.com, Steve Singer. I've done a lot of videos on him. If you just search the channel, you will find plenty of roses videos on that. That's where I would buy some of these roses. You can see Louise Estes. I mean, look at that spiral shape to it. Brilliant color. That's perfect. That would do very well in the rose show right now. Minus, see these blemishes on the edges? That's what thrips do. So again, would I give that to a neighbor? Of course, but you see that blemish on the left petal? That is what happens with thrips. So that's why I'm putting on those bags, so that prevents it for the rose show. So Louise Estes, a really, really good rose. Moana, Cajun Sunrise, all of these were bought from Steve Singer as a maiden rose. Search my channel. You'll certainly see videos on it, because I talk about how that's a great source of roses. You can tell, while I may not have a ton of blooms for the show, which is okay because it's hard to keep track of. Look at the growth in the garden. Mr. Lincoln and Alina doing really, really well. And the roses that are doing well right now, that is Dolly Parton. Really, really nice orangish red rose. And the best part of Dolly Parton is it's fragrant. Obviously you can't smell it through the phone, but it is a very, very nice rose for sure. We're gonna roll around here and just show you kind of a wide shot on the garden. Have some disease in the garden, but the growth is outstanding. So 6, 7, 8, and these are approaching 10 feet tall on the back of the bed. Marilyn Monroe growing really well. So really, really nice. One thing we did have some wind, and it was my fault that I did not stake the rose up. This is Ring of Fire. It got toppled over. It's not gonna be a big deal, but Fortuniana, the stock I grow on, can be a little shallow in terms of, you know, my graft is not below the ground. It's kind of at ground level. So I don't know if you can see this, but this bush got blown over. So it's my fault because I let it get so tall and these heavy blooms in the wind rock back and forth. So I'm gonna need to restake that up. The reason why I don't sound overly concerned, I gotta tell you, Alina and Mr. Lincoln, 2018, we got a big hurricane, Florence, that hit our coast here in North Carolina. This fence was an old one. It blew into my rose garden, and these two roses were completely at a 45-degree angle, completely bent sideways. I just kind of restaked them. I didn't try to pick them up too much, just kind of let them regrow back upright. And I don't know if you can even tell anymore, but down at the bottom at one point it was at a 45-degree angle, and then it started growing straight up toward the sun. So it'll recorrect itself here through the years on that Ring of Fire. I showed you Randy Scott. This is one that's very easily available in commerce. Pope John Paul II. Look at the white, look at the spiral, look at the form. It's a light citrus smell. The thing I like about Pope John Paul II, beautiful white blooms, you have fragrance, but for any new rosarians, does it grow well? Well, you have the answer right there. Look how big this rose. It's huge. It's more wide than it is tall, but that's certainly a really nice rose in the garden to grab. So I showed you Randy Scott, I showed you Pope John Paul II, and the last one I'm going to leave you with is Ring of Fire. Even though she's toppled over, that is also one you can get in commerce, and it also has form quite frequently. No fragrance to it, at least for my nose. Every nose is different, but it's an orange rose that has good form, and that is available in commerce as well. So it's October 4th. We're going to see if these rose bushes or the rose blooms open up. Some of them won't, some of them will in time, and then I'll put on covers for these, kind of protect them from the rain, and then maybe even throw some in the refrigerator to keep them well ready for the show. I got a question, I should do a video on it. Do we dig up the whole rose bush? How do we bring it to the rose show? You actually don't, you just bring the specimen itself. So in this case, Claire Elise, if I bring this, I just cut it and bring it to the show. It's primarily judged on the bloom, but the foliage and the overall vigor of the rose is judged. So that's why we try to keep everything as good as possible. They do have classes for picture frames, bowls, where you just put the rose bloom in a bowl, which is pretty darn cool, or in a picture frame. So there's a lot of different classifications at a rose show, but you bring the specimen to the show in a jar, a vase, and then it's judged on how it looks at the show itself. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the update. The bottom line is roses are growing well. We've got some blooms covered. Let's hope in less than a week I've got something to bring down to Columbia, South Carolina. If not, I may still go because it's a great social event, as is joining a Rose Society. If you're not signed up for American Rose Society, now you really need to do so. I did get some questions now and then, you know, how many rose bushes do I have? Just about 42 in the main garden and a couple climbers, so just over 40 roses. So I know on my channel it might look like a lot or little. I don't know what you think a lot is. You know, 42 is a lot for the normal person, the sane person, but a lot of folks have over 200 roses, especially when you're talking about competing in shows. Have a good one, everyone.